What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Fab, Freddie Fox, America's Big Brother, and we back with a Saturday Night Sit Down. What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Fab, Freddie Fox, America's Big Brother, and this is a Saturday Night Sit Down. And tonight, I'm sitting down with career and financial mentor Gio Ramirez. What's going on, my man?
Doing fantastic here with you, man. Appreciate you.
No, I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you so much, man. Thank you for coming on my show, man. I know it's been a whirlwind, man. I just crazy how this world brings people together, right? You just got to be out there. I'm doing a podcast, right? Because I love talking to people. I love engaging and stuff. So I'm really a social butterfly, right? But we met a couple of weeks ago at Brandon's Good Day A to B conference, right? And I'm gonna keep saying this, right? Like, I was reluctant about these things and going there, but I'm so glad that I went because I met so many wonderful people, and one of those people being yourself, man. And so thank you, man.
I appreciate you, and it was such a pleasure meeting you too. Like I took a chance just connecting with you at the end, and I'm so happy that we did because here we are now. Yeah,
no, most def, man. It's been so interesting, and it's all about love, right? Because last week, and I thank you so much, man. I got to celebrate my 50th episode, right? At a Saturday Night Sit Down, and you came out there and you bought some perishable goods for the FNX Foundation and enjoyed the show and had a conversation with me. So, I appreciate you so much for coming through and showing the love, man. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I just I'm in awe that you put together that event. We say a week, but really it's like 2 days.
Yeah, it was 2 days. It was 2 days, man. And I'm gonna keep saying this, right? Like, one of the biggest things everybody got to realize is your network is your net worth, right? I've been hearing that a lot lately with the guys that I've been around, and it doesn't hold more true in that, because when you have a great network, you're able to pull off something like that amazing in 2 days. So thank you for everybody that was involved, everybody that helped me and came through, man. So it was amazing, man. It was an amazing thing that went down, man. So
I enjoyed it, and the performances too were just top notch. I felt like I probably should have paid a nice hefty ticket to be there.
Yeah, man. It's all about love, right? We want to go out there and do some great things. So that was that about. So again, thank you so much for coming through and showing some love there and maintaining this connection with me, and even coming down tonight, right? Like, to sit down and be here on and actually to be welcoming me, right, into my new home, right? Ooh. We are now in a new place at a Saturday Night Sit Down, right? We're here at KP Productions, and it's just an amazing studio. As you can see, we got the green screen here, man, and this is just one of many, many beautiful things that they have here. I mean, recording studio, music, if you need to put on a concert, anything, or a wonderful podcast or any type of production, man, they got it here. So thank you to the wonderful people. And this is, again, part of that event that came through for my 50th episode, right? Meeting the right network of people to put you on to new places, and now, to a nice, wonderful, wonderful home that we have here. So thank you guys at KP Production, man. Thank you, Gio. And now we got through the intro, so let's get to the nitty gritty, right? Let's get to the nitty gritty into the show. And as I always break it down for everybody, anybody who's new watching or tuning in for the first time, right, is that this whole show is really focused on the impact of what it is to have your father in your life, right? Or positive male role models. As we know, a lot of people have grown up without their dads for one reason or another. And we can see, the void and the impact that has on our kids' lives, right? I think it's, two people, right, make a kid, right? It's not one person. Two people make a kid. So two people have to raise that kid, right? So they can see all those things, and they need that. They need that in their lives. So that's what this is all about. So I sit down with wonderful, wonderful men, right, who I believe have great morals, ideas, and things like that when it comes to those things, yo. So I wanted to sit down and ask you those questions. So my very first question, as is to everyone, sir, is to you, if you had to think about it, right? What are some of the main characteristics or qualities you think it takes to be a good man or a good person?
There's a saying, I think it's integrity is doing the right thing when no one's watching. And I just love that because, when no one's watching, you can pretty do anything you want, right? So I think the one of the best qualities is if you can do the right thing, which is like even just picking up like a little piece of trash, right? Just because you saw it there and you're like, this belongs in the trash, right?
Right.
And so if you can do that when no one's watching, then I think that's one of the best qualities that you can have, because you're going to teach your kids great principles, great morals, or not even your kids, your nephews, any family member. You're going to pass on these traits that are definitely teach values and help families move forward in the best way, right? In the most principled way.
Yeah, most definitely. I think you hit a lot of different topics. So one of the biggest things, like you said, right, because you may be impacting somebody, your kid, your nephew, or anything like that. I'm a huge believer and a firm believer in it takes a village, right? I think I love the way I grew up. I grew up on Con Ave in a little cul-de-sac, but it was like, so many, everybody was there like your parent, You had like, I
Yeah.
had so many grandparents and so many there, and everybody took part in raising you as a kid, right? And doing what they need to do, right? So, and you get to learn from so many different people, right? So it's great to have that and learn and teach, because the biggest thing that I've learned too now, being a dad, and I know everybody says that, but they are watching all the time,
Oh,
all the
all the
time.
time.
And even when you don't even suspect, like there's a lot of times too that I've caught my daughter saying things, or doing the mannerisms that I would do, because she watches me, right? That's where she's learning it from. So I got to be very cautious in different things. And one of the biggest things that I do with her too is I've learned to apologize to her, right? And certain things, and I'll put it out there, right? It's just, we're all human, right? We have rough days and things are going off. And I was just having this just a rough day and things were going on, and I ended up getting like pulled over and got a ticket, right? And I feel like I really feel like it's the end of the month, you know what I mean? Like they're trying to make quota, because I could have swore, but I'm not gonna argue, And I was just so upset in there, and then my daughter was just like asking like, "What's wrong?" And I snapped, right? I was just, and I was just so frustrated, But even in the midst of it, like I kind of realized it, and I was like, like I'm sorry, like I don't mean to be like angry or like yelling at you. I don't want you to seem like this. I'm just, there's so much that happened. I'm just like so frustrated. It's been a rough time, and I'm just having a really rough day. That doesn't make it right, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have snapped or did that or talked to you like that. You know what I mean? Like that's rude of me, and I don't want to do that to you or take out what's that. Whatever's frustrating me out on you, that nobody should do that, because I don't want her to think that that's okay, right? Because they're gonna learn that, right? She's gonna grow up and then think that being in a relationship where somebody does that to her and that's okay, and I don't want her to believe that, right?
That's
she needs
amazing.
to understand that. So it's catching ourselves and then knowing that they're watching, like you said, all the time, right? And you got to be very careful and catch it, and if you're mindful enough to catch it right there, just do it at the moment. Because I know, like my parents didn't really apologize to me like that, right? And I'm not going into it, and I'm not throwing shade at my dad, right? I mean, I think I've learned now, right, again, being a parent, that our parents didn't know what they were doing. They were learning and trying to figure it out. So I can't really blame them for trying their best, right?
You don't know what you don't know.
Exactly. So I can't blame them for that. But, I was a heavy-set kid, and I was, got picked out a lot at school and everything. And one time my dad came home, and he was drinking and stuff, and, he went off on me for being overweight. Right, like just you can't believe it. You're just being like that, and being my son and being overweight. Like I can't understand, you know what I mean? Like, and I'm thinking to myself, like I come home to escape the bullies that I have out there at school every day that are picking on me and calling me fat and making me cry at the end of the day. You know what I'm saying? Like, all those times I'm telling you that I wake up in the morning and I'm feeling sick because I don't want to go to school. I'm not sick. Like I just don't want to deal with that stuff today. Like I don't want to deal with those kids today.
Yeah,
I don't have the energy to put on a fraud. You know what I mean? And then I'm home and thinking like my parents are supposed to be safe, and you're coming in and saying the things to them like that they're saying to me outside. So where am I safe?
Yeah.
And I like I said, I remember telling my mom that night, I was like, yo, I hate this dude. Like I hate that man, like, for real. How would you do that to me? And he talked to him, and the next day he came to apologize, and he was like, I'm whatever I said to you was for your own good. And that's you know what I mean, like, and it frustrated me. But as I got older, I understood. I think like he was trying to figure out some way to motivate me or do something to kind of spark myself to go out there seeing that stuff. You know what I mean? Like I know he didn't really mean those things. He was just trying to figure something out to do something, right? So we got to be careful when understand that and do those real apologies and do that stuff. So.
Yeah,
that's one of the things that we learned from watching that. Another part of right, being a good person, right, is having great morals. So for you, what are some of your key morals or some of the things that you stick by on a day-to-day basis that you hold true to your heart?
Yeah, one is just being authentic, just making sure that people know where you stand. A lot of times, we can bend ourselves to the point where we're not the person that we want to be, and also declaring like who you want to be at the start of the day. So if you say, today I want to be inspiring, today I want to be motivating, today I want to be the spark in the office, today I want to be the motivation and inspiration to my family, to my friends, and trying to live to that until the end of the day, which can be exhausting because, like you said, you can have a pretty bad day, right? And so you got to remind yourself that you declared that you wanted to be a certain person, and you got to go through with that. So I try to every day on my drive into work, like I declare who I try to be, and I remind myself consistently, no matter what happens, that that's the person I want to be. Yeah.
You know, that hits so deep, right? Because I say this all the time. I struggled so hard to find out who I was, right? You know, growing up, I seen, again, I was like overweight and I got picked on a lot, right? So, and a lot of things that I liked, like people would make fun of me or kind of tease me about. So like I said this all the time, like I thought like being me was wrong. Like everything that I like to do was like an issue to somebody else. So I just felt like I wasn't right, or I wasn't part of society. I wasn't all these things. And then even more like the way the way my mind works and all those things. And I knew that like I was mentally different, you know, from everybody else, or just, you know what I mean? There's something just different about me, right? And then now as an adult, I discovered now that I have ADHD. And I'm like, damn, that makes so much more sense. You know what I mean? Like all these things is going on, like that explains so much more, and I get to learn about those things. But it was the constant battle of trying to impress other people and fit in and do what was right, you know, in the eyes of so many others, that I lost who I was, right? I so many times I kind of wondered, like, you know, do I even like this? Like, am I just doing this because I'm just so used to it because everybody else? And, you know, you had to kind of spend a lot of those times alone. So that alone is so huge, right? You say declaring who you are at the start of the day, right? Really putting out there and letting them know who it is, because that's how a lot of people are, right? They say they set their boundaries. I didn't know about setting boundaries at all. You know, I learned a lot about setting boundaries. I kid you not, through my wife. My wife is the one who forced me a lot to set boundaries. You know, because everybody would call me and be like, "Oh, I need this from you. I need that." And because I'm such an automatic people pleaser, which is another thing, like I said, with ADHD, right? You know, we have what's called RSD, so it's rejection sensitivity disorder.
Wow.
So we take rejection extremely harder than, you know, like you normally would think. And I didn't understand that. Like, I thought I was just being overly sensitive. Like, oh, you know, because again, as a guy, like, oh, you being mad emotional. You know what I mean? Like, you being mad soft. So I'm like, okay, well, I can't beat them. But it's not. It's literally how my brain works.
Wow.
You know? So if I automatically assume that people, like, reject me, and I take it so hard that I want to try to please and do all those things. And I kind of had to learn that. But, you know, with my wife, because, again, and I think it's like that, like, I'm still a people pleaser. I want to please my wife. You know what I mean? Like, I want to do what's right for her and in her eyes and do that. And, you know, part of that was learning how to set my boundaries, right? And stand up for myself and say what I will or I won't allow.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, because otherwise people walk around all over you. And then I do that with my daughter too, like about declaring yourself. I'm like, hey, baby, like you decide whether you're happy or sad today. I don't want to hear you saying that so-and-so made you cry.
That's
you decided to cry, right? Like you let that person affect you to the point that you decided to cry.
Yeah.
You know, and you can't do that. Like, I decided to be happy today. So if you want to smile, you smile. If you want to be, but let you be the one to make those decisions about your feelings.
Yeah, that's very important. And I like that you do that with your daughter, because something that I feel is, you know, we are internally, we let things happen to us, right? Nothing happens to us. We let things happen to us. So I really like that you're doing that with your daughter, because she's able to identify that the emotion comes from the inside, right? It's something happened outside of that,
right?
And the emotion didn't come in through your skin, and now you absorb this emotion. No, that happened inside. And if you can dictate where the emotion goes, where the energy goes, I think your daughter's going to be a very powerful superwoman when she grows up.
Man, I'm trying. You know, that's the goal, right? You know, to empower them. That's the whole thing, right? And that's like what I feel like my role as her dad is. You know, to be there and do that, because, you know. Hey, I'll put it out there, right? Like growing up and stuff, you kind of see that, right? How it impacts. And I got to see that firsthand on how girls without their dads in their lives have daddy issues, right? They look for love in all the wrong places, you know? And, you know, and that's dangerous, because when you learn that, right, then you learn how to use that to your advantage and know how to manipulate that to your advantage. And I'm not going to have anybody manipulate my daughter or any of the girls in my lives. You know what I'm saying? Like, I got, you know, my nieces, like my very first niece, Taina and Liana, those are my first daughters, right? Like, I've known them since, like I said, my first niece, Taina, was the reason I knew at that moment when I held her for the first time that I wanted to be a dad. You know, the second that I held her in my arms. And I was 13 years old. But I knew because of all those things that people teasing me and stuff like that, I was looking for unconditional love, and this is as unconditional as it gets. Like, you're just entering this world. You don't know the difference between up, down, left, right, whatever. You know what I mean? You don't even know what your fingers are used for yet. Yeah. But you can look at somebody and just love them. And that's what I was like, that's what I need. Yeah. That's unconditional love. That's who I know I can trust, right?
That's amazing that you had that spark, you know, with your niece, right? That's amazing. Yeah. Connecting with that story, I had amazing connections with my nephews growing up, like just taking them out, teaching them about life. And one of the things I've learned is that you don't scold, you don't tell, you just ask questions. You don't say you did this wrong or you did this right. Say what, bringing them to something. Maybe they have to clean something up, right? So let me ask you something. What's wrong with this picture here? Yeah. And then they're trying to sneak their way out of like, oh, this and that. No, like, I thought I had asked you that to clean this table up. Yeah. So let me ask you something. Why didn't you do it? Right. And then really asking them to explore why they were procrastinating. Like, and what I've learned recently is like procrastination is actually, it's a form of anxiety, it's, which to me is, it's amazing to know that now, because you can identify like, oh, I'm having an emotional breakdown. That's why I don't want to do this particular thing, right? And we look at these kids and we tell them they're lazy, right? They're not lazy. They're having a bit of anxiety for whatever thing they're experiencing. And if you can get them to identify that, they'll actually do the thing that you're asking them to do,
No, it's true, right? And I look at it like with my daughter, right? Like one of the things is, I've started with a recently. She wake up and I'm catching like in the living room, right, like watching TV. And like at one point, I'm like, "Listen, in the morning, you better not be in this living room watching TV if you haven't brushed your teeth, made your bed, and changed your clothes. If the moment you wake up, you haven't brushed your teeth, made your bed, or changed your clothes, I better not catch you doing anything else."
Yeah.
So she'll get up, and then as I got up in the bed, and because I get up a little bit later than them. I'm a night owl, which is hard, so I go to bed like maybe 2-3 o'clock in the morning, and then they're up at 7. So I get maybe 4 hours of sleep on a regular.
Wow.
So but when I get up, she'll come to me like, "Daddy, I brushed my teeth, I'm in my bed, changed my clothes," or she'll be like, "Hey, can I stretch my bed?" Can I no, I want you to make your bed. Don't stretch, okay, But I set that with her, and then that's just. It's just cracy, man.
Yeah, it's good habit building.
No, definitely.
Yeah. I just gotta say, you're a great dad.
Man, I try, man. That's one of the biggest things that I want to do, and I love parenting, and because I knew that, right? I've seen how that impacted with me. Like my dad, again, I grew up with my dad. He was in the house, we didn't really have a lot of conversations like that. I kind of watched him a lot and learned a lot from him. And as I got older, our relationship kind of grew a little bit more and gotten better and better and stuff. But, I got to see that, but I knew he never came to any of like my concerts or any of like my baseball games or any of those events where, as a kid, you want to look out to the crowd and see your parents, and my dad was never there, like ever,
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, and I seen that with a lot of the guys, right? If your dad hasn't been there in your life with these men growing up, they overcompensate and they're there with their kids 24/7. I was like that. I was like, I'm gonna be a stay-at-home dad. I gotta find a way to be with my homes 24/7. I don't need anybody dictating my time, telling me when I can go see my kids or take time off or go to the park or do that. No. I'm with my kids 24. There's not gonna be a moment that they're gonna look back in their lives and be like, oh, daddy wasn't there until the day that I'm dead. Like that's when they can say that. But it's up until then, I'm in as every single day. Like they're gonna see my face. You know what I mean? Like one way or another.
It's amazing how far the pendulum swings.
Right.
When you don't have something, you do the extreme opposite.
Right.
And sometimes that causes other. And I find it a curiosity because most dads are like, if they have like a team, they're so hard to like their kid like needs to love that team also, right? So it's just very interesting that my dad like had this blessing of a skill set,
right? And
the fact that like none of his children like have like not even like a lick of interest for soccer is quite remarkable, in the household.
It's like you ever see that Coco, right? When it was like no music, right?
Is that the movie?
Yeah.
I've been meaning to see that.
You gotta watch it because
right.
there's a lot of things in that kind of like relate to this, right? Yeah. Like the mom, the grandmother, they were so against music because like again, and I'm not gonna try to give everything away, but the great grandfather left to be a musician and he never came home, right? So then they were all like, we don't want music. We got nothing to do with music because that just leads to people like leaving us. So they had that mentality where like we want to keep you far, far away from that. But this kid, he's born like he has a passion for music.
Yeah.
So he can't fight what what is there. So. Again, like not giving too much away, but again, something that kind of made me think of that when you said that about trying to keep them away or things. You kind of create these generational curses, and essentially because you were impacted so deeply that you pass it on to the next without them even knowing it. You know?
Yeah, very true. Very true.
Like that just hit me with like this. I guess it was like the study, right? They took like it was like a flea or something like that, right? And it can jump like I don't know, like 30 times.
Oh, I love that
right?
story.
You see them, right?
Love
and they
it.
put it in the jar, and then once it starts to hit the jar, it only jumps like halfway, right? And then when it has kids, they're able to do all these amazing things, but they don't know any better because all they see is their parents going halfway. You know, so it was just like, what are we doing to the shit, right? Like,
eye-opening.
It's so insane, man. So it's huge on the impact that we have on our kids, and doing that, right? Like I guess if your dad didn't teach you soccer, right? We've established that, but looking in your relationship with him and watching him over the years, like what do you think is the biggest thing that you learned from him?
One of the things that I absolutely love is that my parents, particularly my dad, were never judgmental to any person, no matter race, color, creed, background, LGBT. Everyone was welcome in my household, and so I had friends from all over the world. I wasn't taught to judge anyone at all, and just be loving to just about everyone. And so I've taken that, and I've probably like turned that into like 10x, what's the self-development guy in Florida?
Grant Cardone.
Yeah, I 10x that, you know, like I love everybody, and that's one thing. My dad's just always been so social and just like a friendly person, and I've just like studied him in that regard and said, in this particular facet of my life, I want to be more like my mom. And in this particular facet in my life, I want to be more like my dad. So I try to take the best parts of both of them and combine them into like skill sets that I want for myself, you know?
Yeah, no, I think that's absolutely amazing, man. Like just being that and not being judgmental, and it's just so wonderful. And that's why like, I love doing the show and talking to people. When you open yourself, right, to all these different backgrounds and all this, you learn so much and grow so much as a person, and you know what I mean? Like, yeah, and that's like one of the things that I loved about like being here in the United States. Like I'm grateful that I came here. I was born in Puerto Rico, but I was brought here when I was like 20 days old. So I was, you know, I would always say I just have a Puerto Rican birth certificate. That's about it.
Yeah.
You know, but everything else was raised here. But I think it was so amazing because two things, right? Number one, believe it or not, my dad is like white with green eyes. Like my biological dad is like very fair skinned, green eyes. It's crazy. Like you would never think that that's my dad, but you know, lo and behold, he is. You know, and so. You see that, like, my sister is very fair-skinned, but I'm dark. But, again, we have the same mom and dad. We're just, like, boom out. Like, I always used to joke growing up. I would say, like, yeah, my dad had my sister and my mom had me. Like, that's why we look the way that we look like, right? Like, when people would ask and stuff. Because it didn't really, like, dawn on me like that until I went out into the real world. Like, I didn't know what racism was. I hate people for their color, their skin, until I got into school and I started teaching. I'm like, what? Like, that happened? Like, they were lynching people because they were...
Yeah,
it blew my mind. I think that's what gravitated me so much, like Martin Luther King and this mission of like, you know, equality and like sharing love. Because I thought it was just common knowledge just to love people, like to see beyond that. Like I didn't know any better, and then I was like, this is not what we do on a regular basis. Like we really like pick on each other from like what we look like. That's some sad stuff.
Yeah, very sad. Yeah,
you know, so that's why like I love doing these things and sitting down with people and like growing and just learning, because you know that's how we're gonna learn, right? We're gonna be able to change the world just by spreading a little bit more love, right? And sitting down conversations and accepting us for our differences, right? And being appreciative of that, because nobody's gonna be the same. It'd be very, very, very boring if we were all the same.
Oh yeah, totally boring. In fact, like so I'll go and visit like Guatemala, and after 1 week. I'm almost tired of just all Latinos. I'm like, where's my black people? Where's my Jewish people? Where's my Asians? Like, I want my multiculturalism. I want my basket of color, right? Which is kind of a cool thing that we have here in Fairfield County, that we're exposed to so many different kinds of people, social classes, that we get the breadth of just about everything across the globe.
Absolutely.
And I miss when I'm outside of Fairfield County and I get, you know, all these friends and relationships that are just from all parts of the world with different mindset, different perspectives, different political beliefs, and you get to have really deep and rich conversations. Yeah.
No, and it's just like, it's so crazy. Like I joke with my wife, because my wife is from Venezuela, right? So again, we're like two different backgrounds and stuff, but you know, I would I love to cook, right? I love food and stuff like that. Of course, from all different places and things like that. So I was like joking to my wife one night. We were just sitting there, and I was like, "Babe, it's like only like here in the United States would you catch like a Puerto Rican dude making orange chicken stir fry for his Venezuelan wife, while they watch a Mexican cartoon with their kids, just how beautiful is that? Beautiful. Like it's just like it was just like
I love that.
I just had to take a moment to appreciate that because it's where do you see that? You know what I mean? And being able so interesting like I said, being Hispanic, right? Like, and I'm sure you the same thing growing up. Like, our main thing is like rice and beans, like 24/7. And I remember just growing up, like, I don't really crave a plate of rice and beans, like ever. Like no, I'm sorry, you know what I'm saying? Like it's just not one of my cravings, But that's why I think that's funny. Like I grew up and I loved pasta, which was an Italian thing, But I was able to be here in the States and be able to be having that option, you know what I mean? Like the thing, like you have nothing else but to eat rice and beans, like that's out there. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but you know what I mean? Like I was blessed and I acknowledge that I had, had the opportunity to be able to be exposed to all these things, and I gotta be grateful and appreciate those things because we know like a lot of people don't have that, right?
Yeah. Especially here, like with the Latin culture, like that you get here, the Colombians, Venezuelans, Chileans, Ecuadorians, Peruvians, we're grouped into Latinos, but we're so diverse and different, and it's a blessing to be here in Fairfield County and just get that whole mix, Just everyone's thrown in a pot and just stirred up very nicely.
No. It is beautiful, man, and I'm glad to be able to grow up here and be exposed to all these wonderful different things. And I know kind of we've gone there before, right? And I like to ask these things because I know, as you said, right, you don't have any kids, and I'll touch on that in a little bit more and stuff. But as I think about it, like, what is something now that you're seeing that, right, and exposing? Because even for me, right, when I was thinking about being a dad, and I started thinking, like, what is it that I want to teach them, right? Like, because that's how much I wanted to be a dad, bro. Like, I was like, okay, so step one, like, what do I want to teach my kids? Like, what do I want them to learn? Like, how am I going to do this? You know what I mean? How to be a good person? Like, what are my key morals? Like, what do I really want? And thinking about those things of what I want to try to instill those things, right? And for me, one of those things was, number one, I wanted my daughter or my kids to be comfortable being themselves. Like that's one of my number one thing. Like I want you to understand that you're a unique individual and people may come out there and come at you wrong or whatever, but don't pay that because you are special and it is okay to be you. It's okay to be weird if you want to be weird, if you want to be like quirky, if you want to, like that is totally fine. Be you. Don't lose yourself. Because that'll cause you so much more. That calls back right to, like I was saying before, about like being a people pleaser and going all those things and being that anxiety and depression. And I think it was Jim Carrey that said this quote that also I love so much, but he says is that depression is your body telling you it's tired of playing the character you put up with.
I love that. That's such a great clip.
And I was just like, I feel you, bro. Like that's me. Like, and I was like, you know what? I need to change. And part of like learning to do that was to learn, number one, to be okay with myself, right? Because if I want them, then I got to be able to teach them how to do that, right? Like so, doing this show and putting myself out there and having fun and exposing that's just me, right? And they see me doing that and they love it and I want them to grow on that. So thinking about the mentality, right? Like I know, have you put that in any thought, or what is something that you think you would want to make sure that you teach your kids when you're ready for that or you're blessed with that opportunity?
Yeah. Oh, wow. That's a very deep question. So initially, I'll take a step back. Initially, I didn't want kids. Like I thought I was going to be not a person who like, you get a very different jaded view if you continue to look at the news, right? Because you only see the bad headlines, and you're like, absolutely. Do I really want to bring a child into this world, right, where things are headed? But lo and behold, we're actually living in the best decades of our lives, technology-wise. Medical-wise, like we are living long, we're living amazing lives, and most of the people that live in like the poorest areas of Americas, they're like pretty much like the rich areas of other countries, right? So that popped my lid into thinking about like okay, so I got a jaded perspective of the world just because of the information intake that I've been having, but I was watching something and I can't recall what it was, but basically they said it's our responsibility. We were handed this amazing world of comfort and luxury, and the fact that your car is literally has all the luxuries of the world. We were handed this from the last generation, and it's our responsibility to bring the leaders, bring the children into this next world and give them the keys to create a more awesome and like a more beautiful world than what we were handed to.
Right.
And that really clicked for me. That's when I said, okay, I would, if I get the opportunity, would like to be a dad. And that's pretty much what I would like to be. I would like to create a leader. Obviously, they can choose whatever they want to be, but I would like them to lead in whatever area of life, so long as they're being really good human beings and striving to be better versions of themselves and better versions of society.
I think that's awesome. I think, when you think about that and have those in mind, like as long as you want to try, right, and beat it. Like I said, like being a parent isn't hard, right? Yeah. All you gotta do is show up. Just show up. Just be there and try, right? Like they respond to that, right? Like and I think it's just like how my mind thinking. I don't want to go like too crazy, but like just think about like when you get like your pets, right? Like they're waiting for you to be there, right? They're relying on you, and you know what I'm saying? Like you show up, you may be mad at them some days, you may like get frustrated and stuff, but they always want you just to be there, right? You show them some love, give them some food, rub their belly, you know what I mean? Like, but of course, the same thing with kids, like on a much grander scale, like, you just got to be there, help them grow, learn. You're not perfect. Like I tell my dad, when I told my daughter sometimes, like, hey, dad, baby, I'm sorry, I made a mistake. She's like, it's okay, you don't gotta apologize. Like I understand, but she knows, when we have those dialogues and stuff. And so like you said, like getting to that, when you're being blessed, and I want to like allow you to put it into your own words, the situation with you and your kids and stuff. So what is at this point stopping you, ready for having kids, or being ready for that at this moment?
Yeah, actually, the most difficult part is that my wife actually suffers from bipolar, manic depressive, and probably a few other things. So she was likely autistic growing up. And growing up in Vietnam, she was probably smacked around probably to try to fit in. And she didn't process those things right, which has now led to her having like extreme manic depressive episodes. And so, bringing a child introduces an extra level of complexity when you have a parent that's not really stable. And though my wife wants kids, so it makes it difficult because I know if you have a depressive episode, probably a child is not the best ideal scenario to be in. And when you have a depressive episode where someone can be also verbally lash and uncontrollably just because of their circumstances, again, not the ideal situation to raise a child under. So I sort of have to think about how that is going to play out when I do decide to have kids. We're also very open to adoption too, so that my wife does not go through the hormonal changes, which can cause can cause to the child probably some harm.
What is it? Not PTSD. Postpartum depression. Yes. There we go. That's what go right from the hormones and stuff.
And believe it or not, also so that's one of the things, because my wife's bipolarism is so large that she also develops like certain levels of PTSD to certain circumstances. Yeah. So I didn't know my wife had this. I actually met my wife online on Facebook, and we were business partners, and I actually flew to Vietnam, and I told her, if we have chemistry, we're just gonna do it, and we're gonna figure it out. So I went to Vietnam, like out of nowhere. I had never met her before. We had some chemistry, and I said, okay, let's have an adventure. Let's just go forward with it.
Wow.
On the third time I went to Vietnam and I brought my friends, that's actually when I realized that my wife had these afflictions, unfortunately. And she had already given up her apartment. She had already sold things. And I couldn't bear part to actually give up on her there and then, because I couldn't imagine what would happen to her. So I bit the bullet. We got on the airplane and we brought her home. And it's been an interesting 5 years. COVID really hit my wife really hard. She had a lot of COVID anxiety. But out of that, actually, she didn't know something was wrong with her, which is one of the crazy things. Mm-hmm. Like, she didn't know, for her, everyone was a problem. Right. She was correct. And then one day she was melting down, and I was able to at least get her to have some medication. And what ended up happening is that medication, for at least that moment, like popped her lid. And for the first time, she saw the world in a whole different way. She said, oh my God, I'm the problem. For the first time, she saw that her reactions were made up in her mind, So it's been a very interesting journey being married to someone who has this affliction. And thank God I've had enough self-development training to get over those humps where the manic depressive episodes can be very extreme. Yeah.
Wow. No, I mean, I think we've all gone through seeing different things and being worried, right? Because I kind of similar something kind of those cases. Like I was going through a lot of depression myself, right? And you know, when I got laid off from my job and I just didn't know where to go, and I was just, you know, bills are piling up. I got extremely depressed, and I started to think like, man, like I'm worth more dead than I am alive right now, right? Like, you know, if I were to, I remember, I kid you not, man, one day I was there, I was home with my daughter, and I was going through this emotional, terrible breakdown. And I was like, you know, I know my brother-in-law is supposed to get home off of work around such and such time. You know, like if I were to lay in the tub and like slip my wrist at such and such, I may bleed out at here, and then he'll get home just in time, right, to be okay with her. Like she'll wake up from her nap at this time. Like it was this whole just thing, like because I couldn't just process it anymore. You know.
Yeah.
And you know, so my wife and that worried her. You know, like you're a stay-at-home dad, you're at home, and you're going through these things. Like, how can I feel safe? You know, at work, knowing that. And then, you know, and it hit me hard. Like, I don't want you to worry either. Like, or think that I'm unfit to be here. And you know, it's kind of scary to have those thoughts. But, you know, getting out the help and talking out and seeing those things. But then again, like that also led to me understanding that, again, I had ADHD, right? And and because of not treating it, or, you know, like going undiagnosed and all that stuff, which led to my constant anxiety and depressive states and all these things and all those things that was going on that I had no idea were going on. You know, because of that. And it's funny because I used to like joke around with my friends all the time, like, damn, I must have like ADHD or whatever, like, you know what I mean, like just randomly just kidding about it, like it was some sort of joke. But then like seeing it with my daughter, you know, and how she's reacting and stuff, and they say like it could be hereditary and it's in your genes and stuff, and I was like, wow, like I might have, you know, so I didn't really learn to like understand and
there was a root cause,
right? And
there was a root cause to what you were feeling.
To be there and doing that, so I can definitely understand, like you said, with your wife's situation and seeing that and putting that at ease. You know, from the other side, right? Like my wife had those same worries and those concerns and stuff. You know, and is that like now on that, right? Just asking that topic, like, well, that's something that your decision was like, you know, maybe we should wait, or is that on her? Was it like a mutual thing? Like maybe not, because then I guess, like you said, that part of the answer was because of, again, you know, not going through their own labor, you know, through the hormonal things, and that's why adopting. But there's still those manic states, right? Like you're saying. So what is the difference to you that makes it more comfortable one way or the other? Or is it just the same thing? Or like, how does that plan out in your head for having kids?
Yeah, I think for me particularly is I would like to get to a level where I can afford a 24-hour nanny. And then like if my wife has an episode, then I can then someone's there to obviously work through the situation, take care of the child, while my wife just kind of like goes through it, right? One of the things about bipolarism is that they're very rebellious to take medication because like their highs are amazing. You know, they don't want to lose those highs, but those highs come with like equal level lows, right? And so for now, I support my wife. I support her not wanting to take medication, which can cause other side effects like liver damage and stuff like that. But my hope is that we figure it out financially and we get a 24-hour nanny, and that will give us the opportunity to give a child an amazing life. That the same kind of parenting that you are doing, you know, and bring a child into this world and really, you know, create another leader that hopefully creates a better place for us for the future. Yeah.
Right. And I think and I wanted to touch on that, and I appreciate you for being open and discussing that with us, right? Because I wanted to bring a little light to that, because we all see different things for other reasons, right? Sometimes people they don't want to have kids because that's just not in them, right? Or maybe, again, they're going through something medically, like if it's, you know, I know somebody who had like, you know, issues with their ovaries and stuff like that, or the cysts, that's what they call it, like cysts in their ovaries and stuff, ovarian cysts, and, you know, that cause complications, or, you know, people's body are just ain't able to do that. You know, there's a variety of reasons and stuff that we think of first, but not like this, right? Because of someone's, and I mean, it's the most respectful way, right? Their mental stability, right? Or their mental state, and just having that worrisome, right? That's something that we need to think about too, because, you know, and I said this with my wife before, like, and, you know, flat out, like I said, the moment we have kids, I'm sorry, I love you so much, but you're no longer my number one priority.
Yeah, well,
you know what I mean? Like, and I hope that goes both ways, right? Like, because I want you to make sure that our kids' safety come before anything else.
Yeah.
And I mean that because if I'm being an idiot or doing something wrong, like, I need you to make sure that you do whatever you need to do to me, or whatever that situation is, to make sure that our children are safe. You know, regardless of what that is, right?
That makes sense, yeah.
That's why I laid it out like that, right? You know what I mean? So, you know, that's where our mentality is when it comes to that. So it's just being worrisome, right? Like, there are kids and want to be safe and having to, even if that means to protect them from one another, right? Like, and
That's true, yeah. And you're going down the right direction, and it's it's an extra layer of complexity. But I do appreciate that you told your wife that, because at the end of the day, like, circumstances change, right? But it's really about the children, right?
Right.
You're here to create other human beings and have them, be amazing people and give them the best opportunities, right? And in other families, it could be drug abuse, right? It could be other kinds of trauma that exists, and so you want to break that chain, right?
Right.
You want to break that pattern, that tradition, and for my wife particularly is very important. She even says it, like, the children are probably going to be more with you, because if I have an episode, I don't want them to. I don't want to cause them any harm, psychological harm. That's going to take a lot of time to be undone. So she's aware. She says, like, they're probably going to be more with you than with me, but I still want to give them a bunch of love. So she's self-aware.
Well, you know what? I think that's key, right? That's number one, being self-aware and understanding that, right? But I think that can go the other way too, right? Because we know that is that we, like you said, the swing of the pendulum earlier, right?
Yes.
Is that she understands that, so she's even more cautious with the kids to try to be more mindful and catching herself that it may help. You know what I mean? Like, I'm saying that's a good idea, but it may help because now it's no longer about me, right? So, like I said, like before, one of my boys were talking about different things. Like, before we used to go out and do this and do all sorts of crazy. I was like, yeah, because before our decisions didn't impact anybody else but ourselves. So if we went out and we got into a car accident or whatever, like, what I mean? Of course our family, but you know what I mean? Like, I'm the only one that's suffering, really. You know what I mean? Like, I'm making a bad decision. Like, it's only affecting me. Now I have a kid. Now I have a family. I got a wife. So the things that I do impact them. Like if I would have done something done to myself, now my kids got to get raised without a father.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and now, like, again, like, being that I was so close with them, even so now, like, even with my son, like, because of COVID, stuff, like, me and my son I'm his main interaction, right? Because we can go anywhere, we can go anywhere. It's me and him in the house. My wife went to work, my daughter was at school. So it's me and my son 24/7 all day long. So we have this incredible bond, you know what I mean? Like, and it's starting to see, like I said, I have to travel for work sometimes, right? And the last couple of times I traveled, we've noticed that he gets more rebellious and cranky, and he's throwing more fits and not being able to sleep through the night, stuff because I'm not home.
Wow.
And then the night I get home, like, he sleeps through the whole night like nothing, without a problem. But the night that I'm not home, he knows that, like, where's my dad? Where's this? Like the other night, like, he wakes up in the middle of the night crying, hysterical. I'm out cold, right? Like, when I'm asleep, I'm dead to the world. So I get 4 hours of sleep, but I am not moving for nothing.
Yeah.
Right? So my wife, she gets up, she goes to the crib, she picks him and says, he's still fussing. She's like, all right, let me bring him to the bed so he can sleep with us for a little bit. So she comes, brings him to the bed, and the second, like, he hits the bed, he bolts across the bed and just latches onto my neck and starts cuddling with me. So she goes and grabs him, but he gets he's to cuddle up and he won't let me go.
That's
and he's
amazing.
like a magnet. You know what I mean? That we have that bond. So it's just like, I guess, that security thing or safety. So if I do something dumb to myself, they got to pay the consequences.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that's what helps me too. Like, that's why helping me to be mindful of what I'm doing with my ADHD, what happens with my depression, my anxiety, how I'm making sure that I'm treated, making sure that I'm good for them. So I say that again, I mean, that there's hope. So I know that maybe, because again, honestly, everybody says, "Oh, I want to wait for the perfect time to have kids and be great." It's never gonna happen, bro. I'm gonna say that right now. It's never gonna be perfect.
Very true.
Right? But it'll be at the right time when you're ready. Like me. And I say that I wanted kids, and my son and my daughter weren't planned, but they came at the moment we needed them for the right time.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Like, even, especially with my son, like, I had my dog for 11 years, right? And that was my son, because at one point I didn't think I could have kids, right? I thought I couldn't have kids, so my dog was my son, so we had that bond, like, with him. So when I had to put him down, it destroyed me, but it was crazy because I had to put him down, and literally a week later, which I think, now it just hit me, like, to think about the rising of Christ or whatever, but like, 7 days later, my son was born.
Wow.
So my dog passed away, my son, my first one I called, my boy and stuff like that, passes away, and a week later, then my son is born.
And you had a void, and it
I had a
just
void,
came.
and you know what I mean? Like, it came when it was, like, everything planned out that happened for a reason. So because I love kids, I'll be a parent. I'm not telling you to do or don't, but if that's what you want to do, I mean, like, think about those things because it may help with her too. Like, treat. I mean, there's a lot of things you got to overcome and kind of be prepared for. And I hope you guys and I wish you guys the best of that.
Yeah, I can't wait. Can't wait to make a little human being.
And then go from there, right? And then have those. So, and I want to give some more time, but I'm just loving this conversation. That's why I love sitting down and talking with people because it just gets real and we kind of get lost in things. But going back to that, I think that kind of triggers, like you're talking about, like your parents, especially like your dad, right? Not the great person in finances. And I think a lot of our parents is coming from these countries. They just know we go to America, like we're going to have a better life. I don't know whatever, but we go there, we have a better life, right? So, of course, they're coming from, our countries where there's not as advanced as we are here, right? We're just wanting a better life, not really knowing, the way the finances in the United States work, because it's completely different, right? There's a lot of loopholes, stuff like that, and these laws that people don't know, right? So my question is that what's driven you to be a financial advisor and a financial mentor?
Yeah. So I worked in finance for many years now as a process person mostly, but that has indeed brought me to a place where I really want to impact people with that financial literacy, that education component, but mainly because like we just come to this country with not knowing anything, and even people that were born here just don't get the education. A lot of times, like a job just says, "Oh, we gave you a 401k." Like, what is that? What does it do? How does it work? What are the results of me putting money into this account? What happens when I take it out? There's just not a lot of education on that, and people, when you start early, the earlier you start, man, like you can really set yourself up for the future. And so I looked around, I looked at my own mistakes. I looked at my early 20s when I had this amazing plan and started making like six figures and I'm like partying all the time. And I had this plan where like, oh yeah, when I'm 26, I'll start saving. And guess what? At 26, like the Great Recession occurs and I go from six figures to like barely being able to pay rent, right? And going through my own depressive state, and because I just had lost just so much, like barely being able to pay rent when you just had the whole world to your advantage.
I know exactly how you feel, bro.
Yeah.
I told you a little bit. I know exactly how you feel, bro.
Losing my health because I'm so stressed trying to save a company. Literally walking to my boss's office and telling them like, "Hey, I just lost the last deal that we had, and we're gonna have to shut the company down." Right. Walking into my boss's office and letting him know that it's time to shut the company down. Wow, is like all these experiences have just like have taken for me, have created an opportunity for me to say, hey, I need to teach people that the world can change at any given point in time. So please start making the right decisions today. Here's a couple things that you can do today, and these will be life changing if you follow through with them. And so that's it's been really fun. Since 2012, I've been a career coach, and I've helped people get more money for their careers, like by creating resumes and teaching them how to interview. But I realized that, like, people were coming back to me like, hey, can you re-update my resume? I'm looking for a new job, right? And then they're asking me to make like a payment plan. I'm like, hey, you got like a 20K raise, the last time we did this, like, why don't you have any money, right? To actually pay like the full fee. It's just like, you make more money, you spend more money, right? And so I just, I said, there's a pattern here. We need to break those patterns again. And for me, it's a great opportunity for me to go and talk to families and give them this know-how and give them more tools to feel more powerful and get better financial results. So it's a bit of a long story there, but from helping people with careers and now also teaching them financial literacy and education. I get a lot of rewards from that. It's a very personal reward. It's a personal mission of mine at this point,
No, I know what you mean. My wife tells me a lot of times too. Like, my wife has been working at a bank for the last 5 years, and she says that too. It's just especially like people from our countries and stuff coming here and saving money and being able to help them make certain financial decisions and maybe buying that house or that car, doing those things and stuff.
God,
it's a very huge self-rewarding thing, right? That you've done something huge or something, right? It's the American dream, like buying a home or something like that. Those lines. So. I mean, I think it's amazing what you do. I think, like you say, it's a huge point, right? And I kid you not, I'm going to be completely honest, I'm throwing it out there. Like you said, in school, they don't teach us a lot of things, right, when it comes to getting these jobs at all. They don't really teach us anything about what it comes to that. To the point, I filled out, right, my taxes for my job right? You know, when you get a new job, you got to fill out those tax forms with all the tax breaks out and stuff like that. Like, I filled it out by myself for the very first time this past time that I just got my new job. This is the job.
No way.
This is the first time I did it. Like, in my whole, and I've been working since I've been like 15 years old.
Yeah.
Right? So anytime I'm like, hey, Mom, like, what do I fit in this box? Like, what do I do? Like, how do I, you know, which probably wasn't the best thing because she doesn't, you know what I mean? Like, but, you know, that was, I didn't know any better, right? Yeah. And we don't teach our young kids how to do that or how to do those things. So financial literacy is so important for us to learn at such an early age, because at the early age, what we're teaching our young kids is go out, buy Jordans, go get this new iPhone, go get the new latest thing, go get that. No. What you should do is go buy stock in Jordan, go buy stock in Apple, go to start, so that you're okay later on in life.
So true.
You know, we get to this point here where we're so like stuck and you know, not knowing where we are with all these financial things that we're like wondering like, oh my God, like and relying on instant success. Like, I need to go viral instantly and make these YouTube videos. I need to, you know, do X, like all these things that, you know, we could have planned a lot better if we learned more about some financial. So I think it's a wonderful thing that you're doing that. I know I went to one of your events, your virtual events, which I thought was very, very informative and left me wanting more. And today you had another great one. Unfortunately, I was unable to make it this morning. So how did that go this morning?
It was great. Yeah, one cool thing that came about is a lady went there for an organization for the Latino community, where she wants me to do some presentations, and I said, okay, why don't you come to this so you can get a clear instruction of like what kind of value provide for the community. And she walked away saying, okay, this is great. Let's schedule it, put something in a meeting. And also, guess what? Like, I really want to meet with you on a one-on-one, right? So that just goes to show that people want the information. People need the information. And sometimes they don't know where to go. But once you find someone that gives you a little bit, and a little bit, when it comes to financial literacy, a little bit goes a long way. Just a little bit, just a few different changes can make the difference between you having like 200,000 in your retirement account to $1.5 million by the time you're retired. Just a few key differences make a big deal in that realm, you know, because we're talking about interest and compounding.
Right.
You know, you use the compound effect in anything in life, right? It's like if you go to the gym, you use the compound effect to create muscle, right? You're doing a podcast, you're doing compounding effect, you know, doing it consistently so that people get to know what you're doing, right? Same thing with finance, you know. You use the compound effect, which is making the right habits, making the right choices, and putting the right amount of money so you can grow it. And a little few changes goes just a very, very big way, yeah.
No, absolutely. I think it's just wonderful what you're doing and getting out there. Definitely have some ideas of things I want to do to how to bring some financial literacy to our younger generations. So we're definitely going to be in contact. And like I said, man, I mean, I've known you on a professional level. You know, I got today to sit down and talk to you and let you know you on a more personal level. So I appreciate you again being so open and doing that. You know, I mean, I look forward to a very long relationship with you, man, and you know, doing a lot of great things. So you know, kind of winding down. So as you said, right, like, you know, helping out the kids and stuff like that, I do have a question. Hopefully you can give us this one piece of advice, right? Because I think this is one of the big things that we need to learn, right? And even that I recently had to do, struggle with when we come down to interviews, right? So I'm going to break it down to you like this, and so you can kind of prepare yourself and think about what's going on for this answer, right? So, you know, going off for this new job, and I'm thinking of, well, how much I need to make, right, to make sure that I can take care of daycare, all these things for my kids, and really what my value is, right? And trying to figure out what this position that I'm going for. So in my head, I'm like, all right, you know, I have this number that I want to kind of ask for, right? And so I sit there, we go through the interview, and if we sit there and he's asking, so how much do you kind of want to make? And I'm thinking about, okay, so I kind of did the math. I want to make, I think I told him like 54,000 or something like that, like a year. And it's like, okay, cool, you know, we'll think about it and stuff. Cool. You know, I have a lot of people that kind of work there and stuff, and they're like, you know, for this position, it's starting at like 70 something in between X and Y. And I'm like, wait, what? Mm-hmm. Hold on. Okay. Wait. Hey, listen, you know what? I really like you guys. I love you guys, you know what I'm saying? But I just got an offer from somebody else, and they're offering me like 75,000. So, you know, if you're able to do that, great. We can talk about it and proceed and stuff like that. But if not, you know, I would really hate to pass up on you guys because I have so much experience and all these things with you guys. I've been with you before. You know, I think I could really add that value and be able to do that. And I was so nervous because I'm like, man, like, I don't think, but lo and behold, I got it. I was like, oh, like, yo, you know? So that's the biggest thing, right? A lot of us go in there and we know it's such a sensitive subject for everyone, right? When it comes down to money. So how is it that we can position ourselves or really open up the conversation when it comes to how much do I get paid for this job?
Got it. So always be prepared. You got to go prepared, and so you got to go and look at what all these similar job opportunities are being, compensated as, and you can get a good picture of what would be the top and the bottom, right? Once you have that, you kind of get you can look at your life experience and say, okay, like how much can I play, and how can I play up my strengths, right? So the next part of being prepared is you being prepared for that interview, right? Because how you sell yourself in that interview will determine how much value they think and how much training, how much you can go into that job and really take off like right away versus how much training you have to do, right? So a big key is that being prepared, and you knowing that I think one of the things is that you also have to know what you not asking for enough, how that's going to impact you in the long run, right? So in this case, you were going to ask for like $20,000 less, right?
Right.
That's a big impact.
Yeah.
So if you imagine your world now without those $20,000, that's going to be tight, right?
God.
We live in Fairfield County. You know what the median income here for you to be considered low income? Do you know what that number is? It's like it's 100. If you make less than 120 in Fairfield County, it's pretty much your low income. That's crazy, right?
That's BS, because I get denied for all sorts of damn so extra help, like it was, but whatever. Like
it's BS. But like if you look at the average, when you put all together all the millionaires and billionaires, they really skew the number towards the top.
Okay,
so
that makes sense.
So it makes it a county, and I will tell you this: you hit the number on the head. Across the nation, if you can get to 70 at the very minimum, even as expensive as Fairfield County is, if you can get to 70, you can start making strides towards making great financial decisions in the future. So I always tell everyone in Fairfield County, in Fairfield County, get to at least 70. And then you have a lot of good opportunities here. Less than 70, and you got to really scrounge. You better really pick the right car, and you better pick the right living situation, because you're going to have to scrounge. But if you can get to 70 plus, you're in a great position to use that extra money to make that money grow. Yeah.
But when it comes to that, I think I guess ask that. So if you're in that interview, right? So who throws out the first number? How do you? Because I think from what I've doing research, seeing that, right? They say, you know what, based on what's just going on right now, because I know that it's very important just when it comes down to being financially secure and worrisome. We want to make sure we're doing what's best for each other. So for you guys, what is your average for this position go for in this company? That's a legit question you're gonna ask an interviewer, right?
Very true. However, the first interview, you don't want to ask any questions about compensation.
Right.
The first interview, it's all about what you can do for them. That's it. Your cover letter, everything should be about what you can do for them. If they bring the topic up, then you have to be prepared for that. So, what do you expect to be compensated? That's usually a typical question you get. And then that's when you, I believe that for this position, I would like to be compensated at $75,000. However, I am open to negotiating that, but I believe that my skill sets and my values and all my experience, that $75,000 is where I would like to start, right? So, but unless they bring that up, you don't bring that up at all, Right. And the reason being, it's all about them, The second interview, then you start to play with a little bit more of the compensation, but that's when they've extended the offer. That's when a lot of that conversation about, okay, what can you do for me? Because at that point, they're invested in you, right?
Right.
At that point, they've decided that you're the person. Now you've got a little bit more power on this side, but before you get there, you have no power. You're there, and you're on equal footing with just about everyone that they're trying to employ,
right.
Unless you were a sought after candidate. That's a whole different negotiating dynamic. Sorry, it's going up.
No, so as you can see, right, plenty of knowledge we got from this dude right here to get there. So that there's more and more that he can teach us and stuff. So, before we wind down, because I got two last questions I want to ask you. I missed the one for today. Do you have any plans for any more future events or anything like that that's going on, or what's next for Gio and what you're doing out there just to get your word out?
Yeah, so there's a few things going on. I have a few workshops coming up that I'll be putting on my Instagram.
Awesome.
So you can find me at The World of Gio, The World of GIO. So I'll be putting up some flyers. I did sponsor an event. We have you and I have a common friend named Dylan who's incredible, and I ended up sponsoring him an event. So September 3rd, I'll be in the back with a table with flyers, promoting a workshop, and also I may get to speak for about 5 minutes, just telling people about a really cool financial solution. So I'm really excited for that as well.
Oh, I'm excited. So
That's
I'm
September 3rd, Norwalk, Connecticut.
Yeah, I'm gonna be there, man. We're gonna get some more details, and we'll like I said, you could either reach out to me or you could reach out to Gio and stuff. But we'll definitely put you in contact with our boy Dylan so we can get tickets for that. I actually gotta get mine after this episode. I called him on the way down here. I was like, listen, man, I know I've been crazy. Gotta sit down. Gotta talk to you about your event and stuff, so we can sit there and do that. So I'll reach out to him later and get that done. So stay tuned. Let's say we got wonderful things. So that boy down to the last two questions, right? So looking back at your advice, right, and everything that you've been through so far, different experiences and stuff. What do you think has been the best piece of advice you received so far?
Ooh, that's a good one. Let me think about that for 1 second here. Yeah, I think the best piece of advice came from this gentleman named Ted Pryor. He was the CEO of the company that I worked for. And I remember him being in an I was doing my review, and I got an excellent review for that year.
Nice.
And and I told him I don't know where to go from here because the next level up was going into that 6-figure realm.
Right.
And I was only making like 50 at the time. And I said, I think I might have to go outside the company to really scale my pay. And he said, no, you don't. There are opportunities right in front of you. You just have to look for them. Find the opportunity, present it to us. And then if we think it creates value, we'll go for it. And it was amazing because within 6 months, I found an opportunity at my job that needed to be addressed. I created a presentation around it. And I was elected to be the director of closings, got my own office, and went straight to 6 figures. And that was an amazing thing. And so the best piece of advice is that there are opportunities right in front of you all the time. It just, you got to open your eyes because they're there for you. And if you can find them, take the chance and go for it.
Wow, that changed your life, right, man?
Yeah, totally.
So that is amazing. I think a lot of people, the young kids, right, we get so fixated, right, on, and I briefly touched about this, right, like on what it is that we think that we want or that we deserve.
Yeah.
And like that's like our vision. Like this is what is owed and what's due to me, right? And if we don't get it, then like we're all upset. But I've come to realize, right, like if you don't get it, it wasn't meant for you. It was never yours.
Yeah.
It was never supposed to be for you.
So true.
It's supposed to be a lesson to teach you something, right? And DMX said it best, right? And I've been living by this ever since I see this quote, but everything in life is a blessing or a lesson. You just got to be able to see it, right? And that goes back to what you said, right?
Yeah.
To me, I thought it was like, you know what, losing my job was the end of the world. It was a blessing, right? I got to go back to school and get a degree in something that I wanted to get a degree in, right? At no charge. I got to be a stay-at-home dad because part of that deal was I got to stay. They would pay for me to go to school, pay for me to, again, like unemployment to be there, and I was able to have a part-time job to make up to a certain amount and still keep all of my benefits.
I would have signed up for that.
Like, dude, you know what I mean? Like, it was a beautiful, beautiful thing, and it allowed me so much time to be able to spend with my daughter because I get to be with her all day long, and I used to go to work or school at night part time, right?
Yeah.
So I was just going to school, so I got to be a stay-at-home dad, take her to the park, she tried to kind of like all these wonderful things and really grow and be, like I said, like that overcompensating dad. I want to be there for my kids 24/7 and be there. So I got the opportunity to do that, but I had to open my eyes to it, right? I had to understand, like, don't take this as a bad thing, you know, like. It was, you know, and then, like, real quick, I don't kind of go over, I want to keep it in an hour, but, like, one of the things like that, like, you know, one time with it, this whole school process, like, I got so frustrated, I almost, like, just gave up with it. I was like, I'm done, like, do whatever you gotta do with the paperwork, fill it out, like, I'm not gonna stress myself no more, like, I can't, like, I'm just, you know, I literally had, like, a couple weeks before that, I had a panic attack at school so bad that I left in an ambulance to the hospital.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Like, it was just the stress and the anxiety, everything's going on was just too much, and I was like, yo, I'm done. And in my wallet, right, I carry a picture of my grandmother, my mom's mom. and it's like deep in there behind like all these things, like in one of those hidden pockets that you never use. You know what I'm saying? Like you never. It's that pocket like back in the day that you would have that condiment. You know what I'm saying? Like like that. You know, the one back, that hidden, the little hidden one, right? You know what I mean? So that's where it is. You know, so deep in there. So I was leaving that meeting that day after I told her I was like, yo, I'm done. I'm frustrated. Like I can't do this anymore. And I'm leaving to my car, and I was pulling out my keys, and my wallet fell out, and my grandmother's picture shot out the wallet, and it just came out and was looking dead at me in my face.
That's amazing.
And I was like, I'm going to be okay. It's going to be all right. Put it back in there. I said, I'm not going to worry about it. And lo and behold, they called me back the next day. Yeah, you go back to school. We just paid your tuition. Go get your books, whatever. And I was able to graduate and finish.
That's amazing. Grandma came down.
Yeah, but that's grandma looking out for me. And always, man. Always say I have a tight connection with my ancestors, man. So I love that. And that was just, again, you have to be able to open your eyes and keep it, right? Don't take anything good or bad. Just be open to the opportunity. So great tip there. Then the last question I have for you, right, is thinking about it again based on your experiences and everything like that. Let's make it a little more. So we have to look at it, right? What is one piece of advice that you would want to give the next generation, or you would give to your future child?
Ooh, that's the best piece of advice that I recently obtained. Going to a self-development seminar that I saw just so many people having breakthroughs. And the best piece of advice is that we typically limit ourselves to a very few options. And we don't know it, right? Let's say if Elon Musk and I are faced with the same problem, like Elon is pretty smart, right?
He will something.
Yeah, just a little something. He would probably make a completely different decision because he has different options based on the different tool sets that he has, right?
Right.
And so, going with that concept is that we tend to select from a very limited few options based on our very limited life experience. And when the truth of the matter is that the options are endless. Every option, every decision that we make can be such a new beginning, and you can choose whatever. And a lot of times we choose from the past. Oh, I had this experience, so I'm going to choose the next. The next thing I do, it's going to be based on this very limited experience that I had, which was either good or bad. How about taking the chance to just choose for the sake of choosing? Like, choose just to choose and see what happens. If I can pass that to the next generation so they can just basically choose to be whatever they want to be, despite of the life experiences, for me, I'll create a child that's so powerful, so will create, will be able to see the world in a way that they can create the world that they want to live into, right? And I think that's where I would like to go. So that's a piece of advice. When you're making a choice, try to really think of expansive. What are the things that you're leaving on the table? There's a lot more choices than what you've been looking at, and I think that's one of the best pieces of advice that I've gotten. And oh my God, it's changed my life completely. And it's changed the way I react to my wife's manic depressive episodes. And I can tell you, it's been such a blessing because now I react so different to her episodes, and it's allowed her to be a little bit more in a comfortable zone. Mm-hmm. So it's an amazing thing. So very limited life experiences, limit your options, and know that you have a lot more options at your disposal to choose from. Yeah.
No, I think that's huge, and knowing those things, man. I just said that too. Like when I go back with your wife, like as I started to understand more about like my ADHD, and like I got like very self conscious of it, because I just felt broken, right? Like you know what I mean, I'm not the same as everybody else. I started learning to appreciate that. I was very just like nervous of really kind of giving that explanation to my wife, or kind of like seeing it, because I didn't want her to think again that I wasn't normal or I was broken, or you know what I mean, like kind of giving her an excuse to leave. And there's just that fear, which goes with ADHD and rejection sensitivity disorder. So it's just
I never knew about that disorder. By the way, you've taught me something.
It's bad, like and it's just things that we just perceive just rejection differently. It's very bad. And I see that with my daughter. It's kind of like triggered me and all those things, but but seeing as I'm saying these things to my wife and seeing how she's understanding and making these changes and adapting, right? Like, she wants to know, because she always says she wants to be a better wife for me. Like, she wants to be everything that I need, and she does that, right? So she tries to adapt and learn. So it's important to her, like you said, like creating a safe space for her to be able to talk to you these things and doing that and feel comfortable. Because that's when we need to be able to feel vulnerable, right, with people that we love and trust, and then know that they can pick us up and help us. So it's just very important, those things. So, thank you so much for sharing, man, and being so open. I know I try to keep it under the hour, a little bit over, but again, it's just, like I said, that's what I love about doing this thing, is these conversations go on, they become so more expansive than what we even know. So thank you so much for being on here tonight, man. I really appreciate you, man.
I appreciate you too, and thanks for being so just full frontal, honest, and authentic. Like, you shared a lot about yourself today as well, and I just I just have I had a level of appreciation for you before, and now it's like, I 10x'd it again. I condoned it.
Well, see, like I said before, man, that's what I love about doing this, right? Like, just seeing the journey of the conversation from the beginning to the end, and just seeing, again, like, just the openness and that dynamic change, man. I love it. I love doing this. I'm going to continue doing it. Again, thank you so much for being on here for me. Everybody out there who's watching, thank you so much for tuning in, man, and listening. As always, as you always know, no matter who you are, no matter what you've done, your big brother loves you. Stay blessed, everybody.